A fire in a textile factory trapped Diana, a female educated youth. Her husband, the factory director who had always loved her, chose to abandon her and save me without hesitation. The factory was gone, and my husband proposed to quit his iron rice bowl and go south to earn money to support the family. Thinking that my love was finally rewarded, I worked day and night to earn a ticket for him to go south. Half a year later, I received an IOU and 3 fingers. The creditor told me that my husband's business failed and he owed $1 million and asked me to pay it back for him or he would pay with his life. In order to save him, I borrowed money from all my friends and worked hard to make up $300,000, but I still received the news of his death. The bloodthirsty creditors tied me up and took me to another place, forcing me to sell my body to pay off the debt. When I was tortured to death, my husband, who had died long ago, and Diana appeared in front of me. Thanks to you, I had the startup capital. My husband, dressed brightly, sneered and pushed me into the steel-making furnace. You are no longer of any use anyway, so don't block the road to wealth for Diana and me. When I woke up, I returned to the day of the textile factory fire. The scorching smoke choked me awake, and I felt that the severe pain from being drenched in molten iron gradually dissipated. I realized that this was not a steel-making furnace, but a textile factory. Looking at everything familiar in front of me, I realized that I was reborn. I was reborn before my husband could rescue me. I covered my mouth and nose and struggled to get up from the ground. Brother Brian, I'm so scared. Diana's delicate voice rang out next door. If it weren't for going south, I wouldn't agree to you saving her first. Come back quickly. If I get burned by the fire, I'll see how you coax me. Ellie, that stupid woman. I hooked my hand, and she was willing to give her all her heart. My husband sneered, and I stood there in a daze with my heart sinking. It turned out that Brian was saving me in my previous life. He had been with Diana before. It was a pity that I was too scared at the time and didn't hear their undisguised laughter. In order to repay his life-saving grace, I took out my precious college admission letter and gave it to him in exchange for a pass to the South. He said that he needed funds to start a business, so I got up early and worked late to make money and sent it to him. I didn't even want to buy a mouthful of white flour to eat. In order to save his life, I risked my face and knelt down from house to beg for $300,000. When I was forced to receive customers, I was begging the creditor to let my husband go. But in the end, I found that the creditor who had been torturing me respectfully called him boss. The unbearable scenes in the past replayed in front of my eyes. I took a deep breath and calmed myself. Since God has given me a chance to be reborn, this time I will make this scumbag and girl suffer a fate worse than death. Bang! The door of the factory was kicked open. Come with me quickly. My husband shouted at the door. I did not rush over to grab his hand as I did in my previous life, but silently looked next door. If I remember correctly, the roof of the factory next door will collapse in 2 minutes. In the previous life, Diana escaped intact. My husband used my money to raise her with fair skin and beautiful appearance. This time I want to see if she is still as lucky as before. What are you doing? My husband frowned. Come out immediately and don't waste time. Seeing his anxious look, I made up my mind and turned to run to the place where the fire was the biggest in the room. Ellie, you are crazy. My husband yelled and rushed into the fire. I found a temporarily safe corner and squatted down, covering my mouth and nose. The thick smoke choked me so much that I couldn't open my eyes. Suddenly, my wrist was grabbed tightly. Don't be afraid, honey. Brian's tone was gentle, but his eyes were full of hatred when he looked at me. I'll get you out right away. He pulled me out as if to vent his anger. I couldn't break free and could only count down silently in my heart. 3, 2, 1. With a bang, the factory building next door collapsed instantly. Diana's screams followed. My husband was stunned at first, but after he realized what happened, he dragged me out and threw me on the ground and ran to the next door like crazy. Half an hour later, he rushed out holding a ball of fire. Put out the fire quickly. His face was pale. Water, I want water. The workers who were fighting the fire in the factory immediately poured water on her. The fire was out, and my husband carefully put her on the mat. Diana's body was covered with blisters from burns. The burned skin and melted clothes were stuck together. More than a dozen layers of skin were rubbed off her wrists and ankles, and she was bleeding. Go to the hospital quickly. She's burned to pieces. Ouch! She's the most seriously injured in the whole factory, and we don't know if she can be saved. I think it's more important to send her directly to the county hospital. The coworkers were talking about it. Seeing Diana sighing and shaking her head, her husband, with eyes full of heartache, sighed pretentiously. No need to go to the hospital. Diana is gone. It's my fault that I went to save Ellie first and didn't have time to save her. It's natural for a man to save his wife first. Someone immediately comforted her. No matter how much you blame Diana for her death, you can't blame you. It's just that people are dead, and they can't pay with their lives. Seeing that no one doubted Diana's death, the husband's mouth couldn't help but rise, revealing a smug look. In my previous life, I was scared and stunned. My mind was full of fear of being swallowed by fire, and I didn't notice my husband's expression at all. I only found so many flaws now. With how much he cared about Diana, even if she had a small cut on her hand, he would immediately take leave to accompany her to the hospital. He asked about her health all day long, fearing that the delicate girl would suffer. Now she died in front of him, and he didn't feel sad at all, and could still calmly direct the firefighting. It's my fault that I was overwhelmed by my husband's change of heart in my previous life and completely ignored his abnormality. Since the person is dead, send her to the morgue quickly. It's unlucky to leave her here. Someone suggested. Wrap her in a mat and put her in a cart. We'll be there in a while. I heard there's a freezer in the hospital morgue. It's very advanced. Seeing that his coworkers were about to lift Diana onto the cart, my husband was shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. He immediately stood in front of everyone. We can't go to the morgue. Diana is from another province. I want to take her back home to be buried. I'm the factory director, and I'm responsible. With Diana's current physical condition, she will immediately turn her fake death into real death if she lies in the freezer. His eyes passed through everyone and looked at me. Ellie, since Diana died because of you, you should show your appreciation. It's not too much to pay $500 for the funeral expenses. The factory is gone. I plan to send her home and then stay in the South to develop a business there, just to repay my life-saving grace. You exchange your university quota for a pass for me. I laughed when I heard it. The funeral expenses were $500. In my previous life, I really believed Brian's words and felt guilty about Diana's death. Even though I knew that funeral expenses didn't require so much money, I still worked day and night to scrape together the money. I just didn't expect that the 500 hard-earned dollars would be transformed into tickets for the two of them to return to the South. Diana was originally from the South, and she couldn't go back to the city because she didn't have a quota to go back to the city. Her husband asked her to fake her death to send her home, and then he cheated me for the pass and ticket, killing two birds with one stone. I reached into my pocket, and my husband, who was staring at me, had a relaxed brow. You are not allowed to touch the money at home. He was high and mighty. You must go out and earn this 500. He was sure that I would obey him. I took out 2 bills from my pocket and put them in his palm. After seeing what they were, my husband's face changed instantly. What do you mean? He had a sullen face, and his fingers were tightly holding the cremation ticket I gave him. What a coincidence. Yesterday, comrades from the county came to the factory to do work and said that cremation should be promoted. I explained, anyone who gets a cremation ticket will get it free of charge. These 2 tickets are for our factory. I accidentally put them in my pocket and forgot about them. They can just be used by Diana. My husband's eyes widened. Gnashing teeth. She should rest in peace. She cannot be cremated. I had expected that he would not agree, so I pretended to be surprised. No cremation. The weather is so hot now. If she is burned to ashes, she will stink and maggots will grow if she is sent all the way to the South. It is better to cremate her now to save trouble and effort. I heard that Diana came from an educated family. Her parents are very sensible. They will not care about cremation. Everyone was convinced by me and nodded. I think it is indeed not as good as cremation. I heard that supporting cremation can also be evaluated as advanced. Anyway, the person is dead. If we cremate her today, it will avoid stinking and infectious diseases. They talked back and forth. Diana, who was lying on the ground pretending to be dead, could not stop trembling. Enough. My husband suddenly got up and snatched the cremation ticket from my hand and tore it into pieces with a swish. I said, "Burial. So burial. I am the factory director, and I have the final say. You are not hiding something, are you?" Looking at the scraps of paper on the ground, I said sarcastically, "Normal people know that cremation is better. You are dragging your feet. You are not a fool. You don't have a say here." I was about to tell the fact that Diana faked her death when my mother-in-law suddenly appeared. Pushing me to the ground when I was defenseless, she jumped off the donkey cart, pointed at my nose and yelled, "My son said no cremation, then no cremation. If you dare to make trouble again, I will beat you to death." As she spoke, she pulled out a pole from the donkey cart and hit me. My husband didn't stop her at all, but stood aside to watch the show. My mother couldn't stand the cremation. He said, "If you have any shame and still want to be the daughter-in-law of the Bryan family, just shut up." With my husband's support, my mother-in-law straightened her back and glared at me like a winner. No wonder my mother-in-law made things difficult for me in my previous life. No matter how I tried to please and serve her, she was not satisfied. She forced me to go out to earn money all day long and couldn't bear to see me sleep. Seeing how she protected Diana, she probably knew that her husband had an affair outside. Now she came to cooperate with Bryan. I was the only one in the family who was kept in the dark. "Ellie, you have made enough trouble." My husband pursed his lips. "I'll say it again. Hand in your university admission letter in exchange for a pass. I will leave immediately to send Diana home." In my previous life, I heard that someone stole the admission letter to replace someone else's and hid it somewhere only I knew. My husband asked for it from me 3 times, but failed. He pushed me into the steelmaking furnace and kept complaining that if I had obediently handed in the university quota, he would have given it directly to Diana, and he wouldn't have had to come up with a way to fake her death. My deaf and impatient husband grabbed my ear and said, "I want the admission letter. You're already married and still want to go to university. You have no shame. The admission letter is more useful to a man than in your hands. I don't know what you're stubborn about. You're still not satisfied after marrying a good man." The factory director went south to start a business and make money to support his family, but you don't even want to give him an admission letter. You're an ungrateful person. The workers all praised my husband. My mother-in-law, who was so flattered by what she said, couldn't stop laughing. "Did you hear that?" She pinched my lower back hard. "You're made of wood. Go get the admission letter quickly. You won't even have time to cry if you delay your man from making money." Who said I want to change? I calmly stood up and pushed my mother-in-law away. "I won't change. I want to go to university." If my husband hadn't schemed against me, I could have been an upright college student and found a good job instead of being tied up and forced to sell my body, suffering torture every day to make money to pay off my debts. This is what this scumbag owes me. You go to college. My husband was stunned. Diana, who was pretending to be dead, clenched her hands tightly. It was the opposite. It was absolutely the opposite. The mother-in-law sat down on the ground and cried, shouting, "It's a shame to marry this shameless woman. Who knows whether you go to college to study or to hook up with men? You really don't want to change." My husband's tone was unkind. Seeing my silence, he grabbed my collar and pressed me to the ground in anger. "If you want to change, you can use your own notice." The corners of my mouth raised in a sneer. "You are not as good as me and can't even get into college." My husband's eyes widened suddenly. He punched me in the face because he was touched. When registering for the college entrance examination, he and Diana swore that they could get into college. The two were going to live together and be Mandarin ducks in college. As a result, both of them failed and could not even get into the lowest-rate college, and I became the first college student in the county. "I am not afraid that you will not give." He leaned close to my ear and sneered. "I have so many people. I will beat you until you submit." I hadn't reacted yet when my husband's men surrounded me. 5 or 6 men punched and kicked me. I had nowhere to escape and could only curl up and take the beating. "You deal with her first. I'll send Diana back." The mother-in-law's low voice came into my ears. "Diana's belly is still doing well. I asked someone to calculate. This baby is guaranteed to be a boy. By then, your family of 3 will live a good life in the South. I'll watch Ellie make money, and she can't run away. After that, The mother-in-law quickly lifted Diana onto the donkey cart while no one was paying attention. Diana's hands firmly protected her lower abdomen. It turned out that my husband had a child with her when I didn't know, and he still didn't let go. I don't know who kicked my stomach and complained, "Throw it into the fire and use the fire to calm her temper." The factory was ablaze. If I got burned again, I would definitely die. I was choked by the thick smoke and my body was weak. I was no match for so many men. I struggled desperately, but still couldn't get rid of their hands. "Notice," I gasped. I said, I tried my best to delay time, but my husband just smiled. I didn't want to listen. He said, "Where is your notice? You hid it. I already knew it just now. It's impossible." My heart tightened and my whole body turned cold. I had chosen that place for a long time. I was careful to avoid everyone when I hid it. He couldn't know it. "You don't believe it?" Brian raised his eyebrows and pushed Nathan, who was standing next to him, in front of me. Unexpectedly, "Did you?" Nathan smiled evilly. "I was watching you when you went to hide the notice. I keep an eye on you every day, for fear that you would suddenly change places. Fortunately, you didn't change. Otherwise, how would I get a chance to make a fortune?" My blood froze. Nathan and Diana were both educated youth. He kept shouting that he was an educated person and refused to work in the workshop. He kept muttering that he wanted to get into university and leave. When he knew that I was the only one who got into university, he wanted to smash me to death with a brick to vent his anger. I didn't expect that he would follow me secretly, and I didn't even notice it. "Everyone said that you are smart and can get into university." My husband gritted his teeth. "I don't think you are smart. I'm afraid that the college entrance examination results were copied in the examination room. Forget it, no nonsense." My husband gestured with his hand. "Throw the person in. The sooner the better." His men lifted me up again and walked towards the factory. I begged the workers next to me to save me, but no one responded. "It's not that we didn't want to save you," the worker closest to me said. "It's just that your husband said that he won't take anyone who dares to help you to make money. Now the factory is gone, and we have to support our family. He said that he could make a lot of money by going south, and once he got a firm foothold, he would take everyone in the factory with him to make a fortune. Who wouldn't want to go? If you want to blame someone, blame you for making your man angry. Otherwise, you can become a rich wife in the future." They all believed that Brian would make them rich. I laughed bitterly. Brian, even needed me to make money for the train ticket. He asked me for the startup capital for his business. He put all the money he made into his and Diana's pockets. How could he be willing to share it with outsiders? "Okay, sister-in-law, don't struggle. It's just rolling in the fire. There's no need to be so scared." The closer I got to the fire, the more I struggled. Just when everyone's eyes were on me, I suddenly noticed that my mother-in-law had already got on the donkey cart and was going to secretly take Diana away when no one was paying attention. "Get out!" I screamed, stiffened my neck, and bit the wrist of the person next to me fiercely. He retracted his hand in pain. While others were still not able to react, I struggled to break free, ran to the corner, picked up a hot stone, rushed out of the crowd with it, and smashed it directly into Diana's lower abdomen. Diana subconsciously opened her eyes. My stomach. Blood immediately flowed from her lower body. Only then did she realize what was happening. My husband rushed over like crazy, pushed me aside, and hugged Diana. "Diana." His voice was tinged with tears. "Diana, the person is dead. What are you doing? I really didn't expect you to be this kind of person. You don't let the person go even though he is dead. You are crazy. No wonder your man wants to beat you to death. I think it's best to beat you to death. Get rid of harm for the people." My coworkers squeezed over and cursed and pushed me, standing up for Diana. I was too lazy to explain, pointing to Diana, who was trembling in pain on the donkey cart. "Take a good look at whether she is really dead or faking her death. It hurts so much." Diana, who could no longer pretend, covered her stomach and screamed. Half of her face was burned. Her normal cries for help looked extremely hideous and terrifying. The coworkers were scared and stepped back. "It's not that she's dead, she's alive again, but I'm scared to death. I'll have to burn some incense to get rid of the bad luck when I go back. We haven't encountered a ghost, have we?" Ignoring the suspicious looks of the crowd, Diana sat up unsteadily. After seeing her legs stained with blood, she could no longer remain calm. My baby is gone," she wailed, and her eyes suddenly locked on me. "Give me my baby as compensation." She rolled and crawled to my feet. "I want you to pay for my child's life." I immediately stepped back a few steps to distance myself from her. "You are unmarried. Where did the child come from?" I asked in return. "Can you get pregnant on your own?" Diana, who was clamoring for me to pay for her life, sobered up instantly. She suddenly realized that the way everyone looked at her had changed. After all, she said that she had never had a boyfriend. She was a good girl, with a clean record. How could she suddenly get pregnant? "How did you come back to life for no reason?" "You were pretending to be dead just now. Let her tell me whose the child is first." "She doesn't even have a boyfriend, but her belly is already big. She's so shameless." I've always felt that there was something wrong with this woman. Who said she was dead? Everyone's eyes were on the husband. The plan failed. His face became more and more livid. "I was wrong," he said impatiently. "Since Diana is still alive, even if this incident never happened, what's the point of her faking her death?" Some people were relentless. The husband rolled his eyes at him. "As long as you keep the secret, Diana will take you to make a lot of money. She is the eldest daughter of an educated family. She has connections. When the time comes, I will share the money with you." The mother-in-law cursed and spat on the ground. "Bah, you are lucky. My son will be the richest man in the future. You will never make so much money in the textile factory in your entire life." Even Diana, who was trembling with fear, straightened her back. The corners of her mouth raised, revealing her signature fake smile. It was a pity that her face was burned, and the smile she pulled out was hideous and ugly. "If you want to go south to make money and start a business, you can." She raised her head and pointed at me with her chin. "Did you see her? Just throw her into the fire and burn her to death. In exchange for the life of my unborn baby, I will give you a chance." As soon as the voice fell, the workers around me stared at me covetously. There were more than 20 people in total. "I can't be their opponent at all. She is lying." I raised my voice and looked for opportunities while talking. Since I can't win in a head-on confrontation, I can only find a chance to escape. This is my only chance to survive. I don't believe her. I believe you. She is a young lady from the city. Who are you? Anyway, you killed Diana's child, so you have to pay with your life. I have disliked you for a long time. Die quickly, and don't block our way to make money." They approached step by step, forming a circle to surround me. My heart was pounding. "Diana won't give you a penny." I talked to divert their attention. "She doesn't work at all in the factory. When the work was divided, she was the first. If Brian hadn't protected her, she would have been transferred to the countryside for reform. She is so selfish. How could she get a share of the money?" The workers who remembered what Diana did in the factory stopped. They had long been fed up with her behavior of not working and getting paid for nothing. "Don't listen to her. I promise to share the money." Diana's eyes turned red. While the workers were thinking, I saw the opportunity and ran away. The factory is too big. I don't know if I can get out. I dare not slow down, afraid of being caught and having no way to survive. "Don't let her run away. Stop." The people behind me gradually caught up with me. I simply didn't even look back and ran out with gritted teeth. I didn't know how long I ran with the will to survive. I didn't dare to stop after running out of the factory. "Comrade, please stop." Suddenly, 2 people jumped out in front of me and blocked my way. I didn't have time to tell who they were. I was ready to force my way through. "Don't move." They grabbed me and said, "Why are you running?" "We are police. If you have something to say, just say it." "Police." Only then did I notice the uniforms they were wearing. I felt relieved with the protection of the police comrades. "Comrade," I held my legs and said breathlessly, "I want to report it." "Have you had enough?" My husband's voice sounded behind me. I have been tortured by him for 2 lifetimes. When I heard it, my whole body trembled subconsciously, and I instinctively moved further away from him. "Public security comrades, I'm sorry to have caused you trouble." My husband said calmly, "My wife and I had a quarrel. It was just a small misunderstanding. I was sorry for wasting your time." He stretched out his hand to pull me away. If you have anything to say, go home and say it. There's no point in letting outsiders get involved. You really misunderstood. The mother-in-law also stepped out to smooth things over. My daughter-in-law often goes crazy at home, and all the neighbors know about it. Don't bother with her. The two comrades looked at each other. For family matters, go to the village brigade for mediation. Don't run around on the streets in the future. It's easy to cause misunderstandings. I said I would report it. I swore. I would report that the first person to report was Brian, the director of the textile factory, who deliberately set the fire. It was he who set fire to the textile factory. The people who were noisy just now immediately fell silent. It's impossible. After a long time, someone spoke up. He is the factory director. He is the least likely to set the fire. There should be limits to slandering people. Yes, how could a factory director burn down his own factory? My husband looked at me in shock. He was obviously panicked and didn't dare to look me in the face. His forehead was full of cold sweat. Don't talk nonsense. He pretended to be calm. I have investigated. The textile factory was obviously caught on fire accidentally. Do you really think you can frame me? I laughed. Do you think I can't find evidence? Everyone thought it was an accident. After the textile factory was burned down, everyone moved out. No one was willing to enter this land. Only me. In order to raise money for Brian, I went back to the textile factory more than once to see if there is anything useful that I can pick up and take home to use. Sometimes I can even pick up a lot of waste to sell. While I was looking for something, I accidentally discovered a cellar. The cellar was dug right below Brian's office. The office was burned down, but it was still there. I went down to the cellar out of curiosity and found several barrels of unused gasoline, gun cotton, and lighters in it. From then on, I suspected that the fire in the textile factory was not an accident, but was set by my husband himself. But I didn't dare and didn't want to believe my own guess, so I simply pretended that I didn't see it. I didn't expect it to come in handy here. You said there is evidence, guarantee it. The public security comrade's eyes lit up and said, yes, I'll take you there. I took them to the front of the office building. My husband, who had been defending himself all the way, now looked ashen. In his previous life, he had time to dispose of the evidence, but he didn't in this life. I want to see how he defends himself this time. Ellie, this is the evidence you said. My husband clenched his back teeth. There is nothing wrong with my office building. You clearly know that I am the least likely person to set the fire. My sister-in-law must have made a mistake. The delicate Diana dragged herself over with tears in her eyes. Brother Brian is the most responsible factory director. He would never set fire. I think it was probably my sister-in-law who was upset at the moment and set fire to attract everyone's attention. She didn't expect it to get out of hand, so she threw the dirty water on Brother Brian. Just give me face. Don't investigate. I'm giving you face. The public security comrade raised his eyebrows. The textile factory is a state asset. Deliberate arson is a serious crime. Do you really think you have such a big face? Diana's breathing stagnated, and her eyes were full of disbelief. She had Brian's protection in the factory, who praised her to the sky, and everyone had to give in to her. Now that she was insulted, she could only hold back her tears. The public security comrade called all the people on standby in the station to come over for an investigation and soon found the cellar. Let me explain. They pressed Brian at the entrance of the cellar. Use half of the gun cotton, kaifeng gasoline, and several spare lighters and torches. Open flames are strictly prohibited in the textile factory. Why did you hide these things in the office building? Make a fire and cook? Brian's lips trembled, his legs became weak, and he knelt at the entrance of the cellar. These don't mean that my son set the fire. The mother-in-law rushed over and yelled, I think you are in collusion with that slander. Mom, you still don't give up. The public security comrade took out a drawing, the engineering drawing of the textile factory, on which Brian personally marked the fire point and the time of the arson. After investigation, it was found that these fire points were completely consistent with the source of the fire in the factory. What else do you have to say? The evidence is conclusive. My husband's face was pale, and my mother-in-law fell to the ground as if the sky had fallen. Oh, by the way, I just heard you say that you want to go south to start a business. The public security comrade sneered. I advise you not to dream. Go to prison for reform first and learn to be a man again. It was not until they saw Brian being tortured that the workers woke up from their dreams. How could a person who was going to jail make money? What's more, the textile factory was burned down. Caught up in the wave of layoffs, everyone in the factory lost their jobs. Realizing that Brian was the culprit, they rushed over like crazy and punched and kicked him, wishing they could beat him to death. I have old people and young children. How can our family live if you burn down the factory? Pay money. Don't even think about leaving if you don't pay money. Brian, you bastard, I will kill you. Even if the public security comrades are blocking, Brian was still beaten half to death. Seeing that his coworkers were still not satisfied, I kindly reminded them that Director Brian could not be held responsible for being in jail. Isn't there a young lady from an educated family here? She can make enough money to pay for it. Everyone immediately looked at Diana. It had nothing to do with me. She held her chest and fainted from fright. Have you heard about it? The nurse who changed my dressing held back her laughter. The educated youth, he in bed 17, had an accident again. This is my 5th day of recuperation in the hospital. Every day a young nurse comes to tell me gossip about Diana. Her parents came yesterday, and I thought I could take her home. She said, "Isn't it said that educated youth with special accidents can return to the city? There are people in other counties who deliberately break their legs." I nodded. I have heard of similar things. Many people with less serious injuries than Diana can go home. Who would have thought that her parents didn't want her anymore and let her stay here to settle down? She laughed so hard that she couldn't close her mouth. They also announced that they would sever ties with her and told her never to enter the He family again. I was stunned. I don't know Diana very well, but I didn't expect her parents to be so heartless. She got pregnant before marriage, and her reputation was ruined. Moreover, her fever was so severe that her whole body was ulcerated and her face was disfigured. The He family wanted to maintain their reputation. They had several daughters who were about to get married. They couldn't let Diana delay her sister's marriage. The young nurse was very satisfied with her ending. In my opinion, this is also God's retribution. I didn't respond and smiled back at her. In my previous life, after I knew the truth, I also expected God's retribution. I wished that Brian and Diana would die suddenly in front of me immediately. Even so, they could not repay the debt they owed me. But until I died, they were all living well, and their careers were flourishing. Diana even planned to have a second child secretly. Fortunately, I was reborn and made the scumbag pay with my own hands. After I recovered, I took out the notice that I had hidden. In fact, I hid several fake notices. Nathan only saw one of them. He didn't find the real one. Before reporting to the university, I formally asked Brian for a divorce. Because of the special circumstances, the leader specially approved me to divorce him immediately, without the consent of Brian himself. I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau with the divorce certificate. My mother-in-law was waiting at the door early. After seeing me coming out, she forced an ugly smile. My daughter-in-law spoke in a soft voice, and you couldn't tell that she had tried every means to order me around. I thought about it at home. I was wrong before. I apologize to you. Calm down and come back with me. Brian is in prison. He can't be without a woman after he comes out. After looking left and right, I think you are the right one. She said, I won't stop you from going to college. Wait for you to come back and take good care of our family. By then, the villagers will know that Brian married a son who is a college student, and he will have face when he comes out. Before I could say anything, the neighbors around me bent over with laughter. They were still thinking about the college student. Brian was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Will he still know the directions when he comes out? You couldn't see her when she was your daughter-in-law. Now that she's going to college, you must be regretting it. I said, Brian's real daughter-in-law is here. Go and pick her up quickly. The mother-in-law was frightened by this sentence. She looked around. After a while, a woman limped over. I recognized her as Diana. In the middle of summer, she wrapped herself tightly with a mask on her face, afraid that others would see her skin. I could only see scarred skin from her neck. The closer she got, the stronger the rotten smell on her body became. Pa, she is not my daughter-in-law. The mother-in-law scolded. A hen that can't lay eggs, whoever wants her can have her. Diana lost her fertility after the miscarriage. In addition, she was disfigured after the fire. No one was willing to marry her. From the status of an educated youth pursued by everyone, Diana made a fuss for a long time and found that no one cared. She simply stuck to the Bryan family and forced her mother-in-law to take care of her and become Bryan's daughter-in-law. I was too lazy to get entangled with these two people. I took the divorce certificate and boarded the train to the university. I want to realize my real dream there.